Hey, Steelers Nation. We are back diving into everything happening with our Pittsburgh Steelers as we gear up for another intense week. Today, even though the team doesn't return to the South Side complex until tomorrow, the mood around the facility is a bit lighter. They've unofficially labeled it Victory Wednesday internally, and while that may bring some humor to the day, the reality is that the status of some of our key players remains uncertain. Injuries have played a significant role this season, and as we look ahead to the matchup against the Dolphins, there's a lot riding on who is able to get back on the field and contribute. One player who has been a standout, even if his statistics don't always reflect the full impact, is Harmon. His presence, or absence, has a tremendous effect on the Steelers' defensive front. Over the course of the season, when Harmon has been out due to various injuries, the numbers are eye-opening. In 4 games that he missed, the Steelers allowed an average of nearly 200 rushing yards per game. Contrast that with the 9 games he did play, even counting a game where he returned slowly from an injury, and the team allowed just under 100 rushing yards on average. That difference is the equivalent of an entire football field, and it's a gap that highlights just how important his role is, especially in controlling the opponent's ground game. What's particularly intriguing about Harmon is that while he may not rack up massive tackle numbers, he has only 18 tackles in 9 games, including 14 solo and 4 assists. The quality and timing of those tackles are critical. 10 of those tackles were run stops, and he has contributed 3 sacks. In the eyes of traditional metrics, some may see him as average. Pro Football Focus ranks him 85th out of 128 interior defensive linemen. But anyone who watches him in action knows that stats don't capture the full story. His ability to shed blocks, maintain gap discipline, and influence the path that running backs take cannot be overstated. When the ball carrier lifts their head to find an opening and sees Harmon positioned firmly in a gap, instinctively, they look for another path. That forces adjustments, makes assignments simpler for his teammates, and ultimately alters the dynamics of the opposing offense. Cam Hayward frequently emphasizes the importance of gap control and shedding blocks when discussing the defensive scheme, and Harmon complements this perfectly. His presence allows other players to execute their roles more effectively because he changes how opponents approach the run. The Steelers' interior defensive line has a complex job, and while no single player can shoulder the entire burden, Harmon's ability to impact both his teammates and the opponent is a subtle but crucial advantage. Even beyond him, players like Y.A. Black have shown flashes of consistency in fulfilling similar responsibilities, moving laterally across the line, occupying gaps, and occasionally making pivotal plays. While he has had moments of inconsistency, the potential for impact is there, and the coaching staff continues to refine these aspects as the season progresses. Looking ahead to the Dolphins, one cannot ignore the significance of Devin Achane. His performance has been nothing short of remarkable over Miami's recent winning streak. Achane has accumulated more than 1,100 rushing yards, ranking him 3rd in the league, only behind Jonathan Taylor and James Cook. He maintains an average of nearly 6 yards per carry and has scored 7 rushing touchdowns. During Miami's 4-game win streak, he has consistently produced high-yardage performances, including over 170 yards against Buffalo, and capped with an impressive 92 yards on just 7 carries in a recent matchup against the Jets. His ability to impact the game on the ground means the Steelers cannot approach this matchup as if the run is a minor factor. It is front and center. If Harmon is unable to participate fully, the challenge becomes even greater, and every gap, every assignment, and every adjustment becomes magnified as the Steelers' defense must rise to meet it. This dynamic also reminds us why coaching stability matters in Pittsburgh. While questions about quarterbacks and other positions have stirred debate over the years, the leadership and continuity at head coach have been a cornerstone of the team's identity. The Steelers have managed to maintain a unique culture where even during rough patches, the foundation allows the team to stay competitive and focused. Replacing a head coach in this environment would undoubtedly trigger intense scrutiny and speculation, but the organizational approach has consistently emphasized process and long-term vision over impulsive changes. The franchise has cultivated a system where experienced leadership guides the team through highs and lows, and that stability translates to the field. In practical terms, what we are seeing now is a combination of factors converging for the Steelers. Injuries, player performance, and coaching strategy all intersect to shape the outcome of each game. The upcoming matchup against the Dolphins is a microcosm of this, with key players like Harmon influencing both the visible and invisible aspects of play. On the other side, the Dolphins rely on Akan's explosive runs, and any gaps in the Steelers' defense could be exploited. The preparation this week, from practice participation to tactical adjustments, will determine how effectively Pittsburgh can contain the rushing attack, manage the line of scrimmage, and maintain overall defensive cohesion. Every game presents opportunities and challenges, and this one is no different. The Steelers' ability to leverage their strengths while adapting to evolving conditions will be tested. How the players return from injury, how the coaching staff adjusts schemes, and how individual matchups unfold will all contribute to the final outcome. Harmon's influence on the field is a reminder that even when raw statistics may not shine, certain players create ripple effects that define defensive effectiveness. Meanwhile, the offense must also remain prepared to respond to Miami's balanced attack, ensuring that both sides of the ball operate in sync and that every decision, from gaps to coverage to execution, reflects preparation and awareness. As we continue into this week, every rep in practice, every schematic adjustment, and every communication on the field matters. The Steelers' challenge is to integrate returning players smoothly, compensate for any absences, and ensure that the defensive front remains formidable. The contrast between having Harmon on the field and missing him underscores just how pivotal these decisions are. Likewise, watching the Dolphins manage their own health concerns, like Akan's rib injury, adds an element of uncertainty that can swing momentum in critical moments. For Pittsburgh, maintaining discipline, consistency, and focus in both run defense and overall alignment will be key to controlling the game and minimizing opportunities for explosive plays. As the Steelers prepare for the Dolphins, there is an undeniable sense of urgency in how the team is approaching the week. Every practice rep, every walkthrough, and every schematic discussion carries weight, especially with key contributors like Harmon still under evaluation. The reality of the NFL is that preparation is never linear, and unforeseen circumstances, such as injuries, can drastically alter the game plan. The coaching staff must weigh the impact of each player's availability against the tendencies and strengths of the opponent, and the Dolphins bring a very particular set of challenges. With Akan dominating the ground game and Miami consistently executing a multifaceted offense, Pittsburgh cannot afford to leave gaps, misalignments, or slow reactions. The defensive line must communicate, trust each other's positioning, and react with split-second decisions that can prevent long runs and force the Dolphins into predictable plays that the linebackers and secondary can anticipate. When you watch Harmon on the field, the difference he makes goes beyond measurable statistics. It is in the subtle adjustments, the way he reads the opposing offensive line, and the way he positions himself to influence the running back's vision. He forces hesitation, and in football, hesitation can be the difference between a gain of 2 yards and a loss of 5. His timing, gap discipline, and ability to shed blocks are lessons in situational awareness. This week, if Harmon is limited or cannot participate fully, Pittsburgh will have to rely heavily on players like Y.A. Black and Cam Hayward to absorb responsibilities and maintain structural integrity in the defensive front. Black's mobility across the line and ability to occupy multiple gaps, even when inconsistent, becomes a critical variable, and his performance could dictate the difference between a controlled game and one where the opponent's running attack dominates. The Dolphins' offensive scheme emphasizes creating opportunities for Akan while also integrating effective play-action passes. This dual threat means that the Steelers' defensive front must maintain discipline, keeping eyes on the backfield while maintaining assignments. Any misstep could open lanes, and Miami's offensive line is skilled at exploiting even minor errors. The coaching staff must consider personnel rotations carefully, ensuring that fresh legs and strategic substitutions maintain pressure without compromising gap control. This is a chess match on every snap, and the Steelers' preparation during practice sessions will ultimately determine whether they can consistently win the battles of the line of scrimmage. On the other side of the ball, the Steelers' offense has its own set of responsibilities. Controlling the clock, sustaining drives, and limiting turnovers are all essential to giving the defense breathing room. Against a team like Miami, balancing aggressiveness with caution is key. Pittsburgh's ability to execute third-down conversions, sustain drives, and strategically manage time of possession will indirectly support the defense by forcing Miami to be more predictable, limiting Akant's explosive opportunities, and allowing the Steelers to dictate the pace. The interplay between offense and defense, while often overlooked in casual discussions, is fundamental to success in these matchups. Adding to the complexity is the leadership dynamic within the locker room. Veterans like Cam Hayward provide a stabilizing presence, emphasizing fundamentals like shedding blocks, maintaining gap integrity, and supporting teammates. The influence of leaders extends beyond direct performance. It is seen in communication, morale, and the ability to rally the team during critical moments. Harmon's role, in this context, is both physical and psychological. His presence reassures teammates, influences opponents, and demonstrates how a single player's awareness can elevate the performance of those around him. Even if he is limited, his engagement in meetings, film study, and practice walkthroughs helps prepare the defensive unit to adapt effectively. Miami, on the other hand, is acutely aware of the Steelers' tendencies. With their own personnel challenges, including Akant's rib injury, they must navigate between exploiting opportunities and protecting key assets. Akant's performance has been remarkable, and his average yards per carry, touchdown totals, and consistency in recent victories highlight the stakes. The Dolphins will look for any vulnerability, whether in alignment, reaction speed, or assignment discipline. Pittsburgh's success hinges on mitigating these opportunities, ensuring that no single player can dictate the game and that the defensive system remains cohesive even under pressure. Strategically, the Steelers' coaching staff must balance aggression with calculated restraint. Overcommitting to the run could leave vulnerabilities for the Dolphins' play action, while too much caution may allow Akant to gain momentum. Personnel decisions, including defensive line rotations, linebacker positioning, and safety support, become crucial variables. Communication on the field is equally important, as split-second decisions by one player can ripple across the unit. The synergy between players, trust in each other's assignments, and the ability to anticipate the opponent's adjustments are all tested in these scenarios. Moreover, Pittsburgh's special teams play cannot be overlooked. Field position, effective returns, and disciplined coverage units influence the game indirectly by shaping the starting point for drives, dictating opponent strategy, and providing momentum shifts. In close contests, these subtle factors often become the difference between a narrow victory and a tough loss. The cumulative impact of all phases, offense, defense, and special teams, emphasizes that preparation, depth, and adaptability are critical. Each player's contribution, visible or subtle, plays a role in shaping the outcome. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling through the league, and none louder than the ones drifting out of Pittsburgh, where insiders insist a key Steelers player may be packing his bags sooner than anyone expected. The corridors of the team facility have been buzzing with unusual tension, as if something bigger than the usual locker room chatter is brewing behind closed doors. Staff members have been spotted exchanging those knowing glances that usually surface only when a major shift is on the horizon. Several sources close to the situation suggest that the player, whose name remains tightly guarded, is no longer hiding his frustration with the organization. Some claim he has grown increasingly distant during team activities, often slipping out quietly after sessions, avoiding the reporters who camp outside, hoping for even a hint of clarity. Others believe the disconnect has been simmering for months, with contract questions and role expectations piling up until they finally pushed him to reconsider his future. People familiar with discussions inside the front office describe an atmosphere of cautious urgency. The franchise is said to be weighing possible scenarios, from a quiet release to a potential trade that could reshape the roster. Yet no one seems willing to go on record, adding even more mystery to a situation already thick with speculation. Meanwhile, teammates have been careful in their comments, offering supportive but deliberately vague remarks whenever the subject is brought up. Fans, of course, have wasted no time diving into theories. Social media has become a battleground of speculation, with supporters debating whether the move would signal a strategic rebuild or simply mark the end of a relationship that had run its course. Some insist the player's body language has been different, while others argue the franchise wouldn't let such a talent walk without a fight. For now, nothing is confirmed, but the rumor refuses to fade. In a city where football talk fuels every bar counter and street corner, the idea of a prominent Steelers figure stepping away has created a cloud of uncertainty, and perhaps the first tremor before something much larger shakes the franchise. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.